When a parent's heart breaks, the sound can be heard for miles. I'm John Renton with the retro review of The Host from 2006. Written and directed by Bong Joon-ho, who went on to do a lot of great films. Mother, that I actually need to retro review at some point because I remember it being very good but haven't seen it in a while. Snowpiercer, which got turned into a series that went for a while, but that being said, it still was a pretty good movie, as well as Okja, I think is how you say it, and Parasite, and the upcoming Mickey 17. Just in case you're wondering why I am reviewing this just before Mickey 17 comes out, in case you're watching this in the future. Who knows, by the time you watch this, I may have already reviewed Mickey 17, along with Queen of the Ring and In the Lost Lands, and a horror movie that I don't really have a lot of faith in. That being said, The Host is really fucking good. I fucking love it. I admit that it probably could have used a little bit more monster action, but Bong Joon-ho, is able to mix a lot of genres and a lot of references in here. Monster attacks, horror, the horror of losing a family member, social commentary, government interference and all that, the news, the government line, there's a lot of stuff in here. And black comedy, because he's such a silly hoe. Am I going to get in trouble for that? Am I going to get in trouble? I hope not. I don't monetize my channel. So that being said, Bong Joon's silly hoe did a really good movie here. And nearly 20 years after it came out, still a lot of fun. It's currently on Max. You have a family. Basically, you have a well-intentioned but kind of simple-minded guy. Song Kang-ho plays Gong-do. I'm probably screwing up these names, I do want to say. And he has his daughter, Hung-seo. I do have to say the little girl does a really good job being very smart with how she's able to contact her family. Once a monster attack happens, I'll talk about some particular moments and everything. The bottom line is, a monster ends up in the Seoul Han River and wreaks havoc after American military forces basically dump a bunch of chemicals into the river. Back when America could just, invade a country and just do whatever the fuck we want. And poison people. Good thing we don't do that anymore. So that being said, basically, we start in 2000, we go to 2002, a couple fishermen see a weird creature. How many tails does that thing have? Oh, there's not a moment that goes by where I don't ask the same thing about some women I've been with. I'm not going to go into specifics, but nevertheless, this movie also made nearly $90 million at the worldwide box office. It only made like 2.5 in the U.S., and I'm not sure what the budget is, probably 10 to 15 million, I'm imagining, for a low bar. But it has a pretty good cast. It has Bae Donna, who's actually pretty good as Namju. She's an archer. And there's a theme of her in competition, but she didn't win this competition. She only went home with the bronze. Why couldn't she let go sooner? And that's a theme that kind of works into something a little bit later on. You have the grandfather, you have Nam-il, you have the uncle. Again, by the way, everybody has the name of Park. I assume that is a South Korean thing. I am not familiar that much with South Korean culture. I think it was also said in Exuma, so I assume that's what it is. So I argue one of the greatest monster movies ever made, because the less you see the monster, the more frightening it is, the more eerie it is, and there's really no explanation for why the monster is doing this. The monster captures people, puts them in a sewer, and Hung-seo, along with another boy a little bit later on, Seijo, I think that's his name again, a little boy that kind of has lived a tough life. They end up in the sewer together, and she's got to basically protect him. She's also somehow able to use this old cell phone to contact her father, Gong-do, and he really is bound and determined to find his daughter because he feels like he hasn't lived up to the potential of being, the father and everything, and tries to, save money with the, working at the family food truck. Unfortunately, he also is a bit lazy. He sleeps a lot. And there's some really good comedy in this. If you're not really into reading subtitles, you're not necessarily going to enjoy this. And I don't know why you would watch a South Korean monster movie if you did, or a South Korean movie, or any movie in a different language if you didn't like subtitles. So, basically, we get the little setup with the family. And I did like how many tails does that thing have? Just a little bit, Bong Joon-ho being righteous, with a little foreshadowing. And the movie's like an hour and 55 minutes before the end credits start rolling. So really, it does end up keeping the pace up. I argue, of course, this might be the weakest of the movies he's done. This and Snowpiercer probably are the weakest that he's done. I mean, Okja's actually right around there. You have Mother, again, that I really need to watch again at some point. And Parasite, to me, is the peak of his powers. And, I will be drinking tonight, or drinking heavily tonight. And it was really nice that that won Best Picture. So, monster attacks, some great stuff about, like, how, people are trying to escape. He tries to keep a hold of his daughter. There's the part where the monster goes into a goddamn trailer and kills people. There's this guy, Donald. This is American. They try to take him out, or they try to take the monster out or rescue people. He ends up basically getting chopped up, shall we say. Things aren't going on that well. Hung Seo ends up getting taken. And I did like how the monster would store somebody in his mouth, put somebody on his tail, or its tail. I don't really think the thing has a gender. But it does have a mixture of, like, fish tails and stuff like that. And it's a really good slimy creature. And I just love how they're looking, people looking very Spielbergian. And they see it on the bridge, and it's just hanging there like a big loogie, like Evolution, which is another retro review I need to do at some point. It drops and then starts attacking and destroying everybody. It's a great sequence, great stuff. And it's only like 7 minutes, but it's a great fucking sequence. Everybody had to be in the right place. They were. Great adding, great violence. And you see the thing, meanwhile going on about the arrows. Why couldn't you let go sooner? So the daughter gets taken. The government institutes quarantine rules and wants to know if anybody was near the creature or near anybody that was near the creature because you're all infected. Because why? We're trying to keep this quiet because, yeah, the U.S. government fucked up. We know they fucked up. And unfortunately, we can't do anything about it. We need you guys to be quiet. What do you mean you won't be quiet about this obvious mishap and human rights issue? So the family's all upset. There's actually some good dark comedy there because there's this wall of all the victims. And Hung Seo's picture is there. And she's all up, she's obviously not dead. The paparazzi's all around. What are you taking pictures for? See, there's nice little things sprinkled in here where the director understands the assignment. And the grandfather basically ends up saying, I say grandfather, it's actually, Hung Seo's grandfather, but, Gangdo's father. Says, old people have always said that any animal or that an animal that kills humans, must be torn limb from limb. Is a human's duty to do so, and that actually factors into something a little bit later on. So, basically, there's this funny part where this guy slips. He's in like this hazmat suit, stands up like this, and says, "Well, I can't explain this. Let's let the news explain." You slip into the channels, and the news isn't on. Again. Funny, good stuff, good dark comedy here from the silly hoe. Again, am I going to get in trouble for that? I hope not. So, somehow the daughter is able to use her cell phone to call. Somehow the phone works in the sewer, and also the phone still works in the fact that she was in a monster's mouth, but nevertheless, she makes a call. I'm in a big sewer, this kind of stuff. So now they have to find a way to basically get out of this hospital. The government's using, like, smoke trucks, basically, disinfectant stuff to stop the creature. And keeps capturing and storing bodies. To eat, I assume, but it doesn't eat everybody, so, I mean, whatever, it's fine. So they end up getting the help of somebody to escape, and they actually had this funny moment where they had to get Namju. She's just, like, wandering around as this mob's like chasing around and trying to get her, or trying to get her. They get her in the van, which I don't know why she didn't have more urgency. I mean, was that just how Baydon has always looked, just like this kind of somber expression? Nevertheless, basically now it is time to pay the guys for helping them escape, and all this stuff. We have all these extra fees. We had to evade police and, dust off a cop. So yeah, it's 11,400. We'll basically take everything you have, essentially. The food truck, all that, all the cards. And they get their own smoke truck, 2 hazmat suits, and, but there's 4 of them. Here are 2 hazmat suits. That's better. And we see a little bit of Seoul and his, excuse me, and his brother, or I assume his brother, I think. They didn't really, it's all right. They end up kind of taking some food out of the food truck, to help the hungry. It's a Seoul, where it's something that helping out the less fortunate. If you need to eat, you need to eat. It's not stealing if you're just trying to survive. Again, nice little, like sprinkling here of like the less fortunate having to struggle to survive even in the midst of this disaster. I did like the creature doing bridge parkour for absolutely no goddamn reason. And the grandpa feels bad for how his son was treated, and says don't knock him and everything. Like when you knocked your brother for not grabbing the daughter's hand and grabbing another kid's hand, don't do that. I was not there. The kid had no mother. He didn't eat like he should have, in the protein lacking, like maybe his brain wasn't fully developed. Or he's just lazy. I mean, there's that possibly. But so they end up having guns. They end up trying to do stuff where they're going to, shoot and kill. The grandpa got killed, actually, in a pretty grim scene. I don't necessarily know about gruesome, but he's going to shoot it, and then has no bullets, and then knocks him over. And then the government captures Gangdo, and we basically have the brother and sister, the aunt and the uncle of Hung Seo, where she's, they're trying to figure out, where she is. Turns out she's under the Wonho Bridge. And there's this funny part where Namel is basically trying to get information and try to find out where, the cell phone could be located. I guess apparently you could do that in South Korea. We had problems locating people in 2006. But they managed to locate it and locate it on that bridge. But also there's a reward out for the family. And he somehow manages to evade capture from like a group of people that were just sitting there hoping that he'll come along. I mean, he did. He contacted his old friend working at this telecommunications place. And meanwhile, Namjo gets knocked out and knocked into a section of this, not necessarily sewer, but just off the side of this bridge. They experiment on Gangdo, and there's this weird cross-eyed guy, kind of like Shawn Michaels, talking like, why didn't you? It's like, well, if all this stuff was happening because the South Korean guy's having to translate, he says, why in the world, didn't you tell the police, everything? This guy said, well, nobody believes me. And the translator kept talking, and he says, don't cut me off. My words are my own. And then they talk about the fact that, hey, we're gonna experiment on this guy's brain because clearly he's infected. But wait, let me tell you something. There's no virus. But then Gangdo hears this and suddenly speaks English. And there's been no indication that he can, but maybe he's smarter than he's letting on. That's entirely possible. He somehow manages to escape using a vial of his own blood like it's infected, but other people don't know that there's no virus. It's just a cover-up. And basically, the daughter protects Seijo, but she dies. There's actually this part where she manages to get all these clothes together and hang on this thing and is going to climb up, but then she pauses. And the creature, even though it's asleep, has its tail wrapped around her, puts her down. She protects him, but unfortunately ends up getting consumed and dies. But she manages to protect the boy. That proves just how good the kid was. And then there are protests starting to go on, and there's this toxin called Agent Yellow. I assume that's either supposed to decontaminate or kill people to quell the stuff. It's really hard to say. Then the creature shows up, but the creature's kind of absolutely fucked. There was this one part a little bit earlier before he kills the daughter, where he barfs up a bunch of bones. That was a nice scene there. And these siblings basically team up along with a homeless guy that ends up helping the uncle, where he's dumping a bunch of gas on him, on the creature, and he's going to throw a Molotov cocktail, but it slips out of his hand. And then Namjo comes up, gets an arrow, and doesn't wait, hits it, creature catches fire. There's a bit of a tease we might have gotten a possible sequel because maybe the creature's not fully dead, or maybe a piece of it flowed off. And basically, that's pretty much it. Gongdo ends up taking care of Seju, and there you are. I mean, that's basically it right there. He learns to be a father after all this time, I guess. I guess he felt, hey, my daughter protected you, let me protect you. And he has his own food truck, I assume, or the same food truck. I'm not really necessarily sure. And it's during snowy time, and maybe he thinks he sees a creature. Let's just shut the window and let's just pretend we don't see that. And the news is still trying to cover up all this stuff. So yeah, it's fun. It's a good social commentary film. I really enjoyed it. And it's one of the best monster movies ever made, at least of modern times. I mean, maybe it isn't one of the greatest monster movies, like if you take in the totality of all monsters. But if you go like at least like over the last like 20, 30 years, it would almost be hard to argue that this isn't one of the best. So nevertheless, that's what I thought. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter, Letterboxd, Blue Sky handles in the description. I'm John Rickland, and I'll see you soon.